So here is a fun project that I call the Clone Yourself projects, or the Mini You project. Either way, you would go out and have someone take pictures of you. And I suggest that when they take the pictures, if they're using a phone or a camera, it doesn't matter, they need to stay still. So they need to stay like in this position. You could use a tripod, but you really don't have to. You just need somebody to stay still. So they're going to sit here and they're going to just push the button. I'm pretending it's a camera, but you know, if it's my phone, whatever direction you're doing, they're going to push the button, but you can't see me push my little button here on the phone. They're just going to push the button. They're going to stay still. Their hands need to stay in the same spot. Their legs need to stay in the same spot. They don't need to turn, and they definitely don't need to go up and down, okay? You, the person being photographed, need to be the one who moves around, okay? So they stay still and you move around. And it's really important, if you want this project to be easy, that you do not overlap yourself. So like they need to kind of have a visual of understanding where you just were, and then in that next spot that you're not going to overlap yourself. Now you can, but it makes it a lot harder to do it, okay? If you don't overlap yourself, this project takes like literally a minute to put together. So you will want to take the picture moving like left to right or whatever so that you can tell that you're not overlapping yourself, okay? Now in this example here, I do overlap myself with the person in the back. So this makes this really complicated because right here, my selection has to be perfect, okay? But for the rest of this, it really was pretty simple. So I'm going to show you how to do that. This is going to be the Photoshop version, and then I will also post a Photo P version separately because it's a little bit different. Okay, so first off, take your pictures, put them all in a folder. In Photoshop, this is an automated process. So that means it makes it a little bit easier. You're going to go to File and Automate. And then you're going to choose Photo Merge. Photo Merge is usually used for like panoramas, but we're just kind of sneaking a way in to use it to do this. So we're going to set it to, you can leave it on auto if you want to. That means that if there is any kind of curvature on the side, it'll automatically kind of fix that. So anyway, you're going to, where it says Use Files, you're going to hit Browse, and you're going to go to your folder, and you're just going to select all of them. All the pictures that you're going to use, and then hit OK, and then be sure to uncheck blend images together. We don't want to blend them together. So when they come in, they should not have layer masks. That's critical because you'll just have to delete them. So if you mess up, it's fine, but delete them all. Okay, now they're all in here. I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to start a new project. Now, I will tell you, particularly if you're on a Chromebook, which you won't be if you're using Photoshop, but these files, like my camera takes really big pictures. So you might want to resize at this point, just so that this isn't a humongous file. All right, so mine are all in here now. And see how you can see there's transparency around the edges? What Photoshop did is it like turned them around and it stacked them on top of each other. Now that's the thing that's cool about Photoshop, is it automates this. Photo P can't automate this process, so there's a different thing to do it that's going to stack those for us. Notice there's a little bit of a light difference. You can see here between these two layers, in here in the corner, see this is a little bit darker than this layer. So you may have to do some minor adjustments because of that. Okay, so basically we've got all of our layers. What you want to do is organize them. Now if you took your pictures like left or right, they may already be in order, because they would come in number order. But if you didn't, then you're going to need to pick the backmost picture to be on bottom. Okay, so this one would be the farthest to the back, and this person would be in front of that person. Okay, and then, let's see, here's this one. So I'm actually moving back forwards. That's another method to do. And then this one, and then this one. So technically this one would be the frontmost picture. But again, you could just go left to right if you have no overlapping. All right, then what you're going to do is turn them all off and start with your background layer. Now, because I know this one overlaps with this one, I have to be really careful about how I do this, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and just very carefully select this person. I'm going to use the quick selection tool since I'm in Photoshop. Okay, I clicked on the wrong layer. By the way, that happens all the time. Okay, click on the right layer. There we go. So we're going to very carefully select this person. And I know that the part that's going to overlap is right there. So that's really the only part that has to be a super good selection right here, is just the part that's going to overlap. See how that we can see that that's going to overlap? So I've got to make sure that that overlap is accounted for. Okay, because this is going to have, actually that's part of the wall. This is going to have a very good edge, a clean edge. Okay, now the rest of this picture over here does not overlap. So it honestly doesn't really matter a whole lot. Okay, I'm actually going to leave it alone. All right, now what I'm going to do, because there's an overlap, is I'm going to go ahead and add my layer mask, and then I'll paint in the rest. Okay, now the other layers have no overlap, so I'm going to do them differently. Okay, so now that I have this basic selection, I'm going to hit the layer mask button. Okay, so now we can see the overlap area, and I'm going to take a black paintbrush, and I'm going to zoom up, and I'm going to make sure that I fix this right now. And I may need to use, you know, a harder brush. Like this one's actually working out okay. But just in the overlap area, that's really the only area that's like a huge deal. Okay, just the overlap area, because those two overlap each other. Now the rest of this doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do now, watch this, is zoom out and use a big white fuzzy paintbrush. So hardness turned down, big white fuzzy paintbrush, and I'm going to paint where she is here. Okay, here we go. I'm just painting her in. Make sure you get the leg. There's probably some, well, maybe there's no foot down there. I thought there might be. Now, to double check it, what you're going to do is you're going to disable, right click and disable your layer mask. That way you can see, like, no, there's nothing down here at the bottom for me to worry with. And notice everything is shifted over because it wasn't able to line it up exactly perfectly. Whoever took my pictures didn't do the greatest job ever. So I just have to kind of hope that it didn't shift enough to be noticeable. Like technically if I went up here more, and I will just so you can see, if I go up here more, see these are gonna, you're gonna be able to tell that there is a little bit of a thing going on there. But honestly, you know, you really can't tell because it's a bush. All right, so that's that. That's the hard part. And if you don't have any overlapping areas, you don't even have to do that. Okay, so the rest of this, I feel like that's, all right. So the rest of this is much easier. So here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna click on the next layer. Okay, there she is, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my layer mask, but I'm going to add it white, take a black paintbrush, and I'm going to hide myself. Again, keep it soft so the edges will be fine. Okay, so I'm just painting. Now, make sure you get the shadow. See, there's a shadow underneath my legs. So when you do this, and the reason I have you do it this way is I want you to make sure you don't miss any shadows, okay? Because there could be a little bit of a shadow on the table and on the ground. So I'm going to just kind of paint over myself and make sure I also get the shadows. Oh, there's my hands. Let's not forget that. Okay. Now, this should look okay. And then I'm going to click on my layer mask and invert it. Control-I. Bam. There I am. Wasn't that easy? And so the rest of them are just like that. So I'm going to come up and turn this next one. Click on it first. Turn it on. Okay. Finder. Add the mask. Paint in a big, soft paintbrush. Again, paying attention to anywhere where there are shadows as well. Now, notice here, we are having some issues with the edge of the table. So that could end up being a problem on the next one. We'll just have to see. Okay, and then click here, Control-I. All right, great. And then this last one, click on the layer, turn it on. Add the layer mask. Click on it, black paintbrush. Now, I know that table's going to be a problem, so I'm going to stay away from that edge as much as possible because we saw on the other one that the table doesn't actually line up perfectly. Okay, and there's really not any shadows down there to deal with. Okay, Control-I over here, and bam, there it is. That was pretty easy, right? And then all you've got to do is zoom out and crop off the excess. So I would come out here, crop it off so that I don't have any of that extra stuff going on. And bam, there we go. There's my clones. Now, you would want to give it a real second look if you had any super different lighting issues. Now, we know there were some whenever we looked at it initially, but I really don't see them right now because that super soft brush blends all of that. So, honestly, I don't really think I need to change any levels or anything, but if you did for some reason have one layer that just seemed like obviously darker, then you might want to do some levels adjustment. The other thing I suggest before you're finished is to turn off the background layer and just look at all of them to make sure that you didn't miss any body parts, because sometimes it's kind of hard to tell whenever you've got that background layer on. But these look okay. I don't think I have any big concerns. The lighting looks pretty much the same in all of them. So we're pretty much good to go. And that's it. Then you would just save the PSD and export the JPEG.